Okay, so good morning, everyone. Also checking that the people online are hearing me. Can you hear us? Yes, maybe you can speak, Jose Luis, so we can check if we hear you. Okay, we are not hearing you.
Alimera Sense, can you hear me now?
Yeah, now it's working.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. So, well, this is just me saying good morning to everyone. Jose Luis will be with us online. So, yeah, welcome everyone to this Open Lab session. I hope you really enjoy this time that we have to share what our experiences have been in the Civis Alliance during the past years. So, well, if you need anything, I will be around. So just I will give the floor to Jose Luis to introduce everything. So, good morning, everyone. Hope you enjoy.
Well, thank you very much, Sofia, and good morning, everyone. My name is Jose Luis Pau. I'm the leader of Work Package 3 in Civis, a work package dedicated to the local engagement and territorial impact of our alliance. Welcome to these open sessions that will include open lab presentations and also the work that the Civic Engagement Task Force has been developing in the last few months. So Global Civis Days is a very good opportunity to showcase our experience and some examples and give some examples of what we have been done until now. Let me make a brief review of the vision and mission of the Open Labs that try to connect civics education, research, and innovation to the local needs and challenges, sharing knowledge and intellectual input with local communities across the civics territories, and involving the students of our universities also in the search for solutions through the service learning activities. The idea of the Open Labs was really to build a permanent vivid roundtable where the different stakeholders in the territories could work together on finding these solutions through, if possible, interdisciplinary joint action. So the role was to incubate projects with some initial funding to create the seed and then try to make the projects grow inside the alliance and also looking for synergies in different territories. So the agenda for today's event will include a first part dedicated to the presentation of the Open Lab local projects by different stakeholders or Open Lab coordinators. Each university will have 5 minutes to present these examples of projects. We'll have a break of 15 to 30 minutes, depending on how long it takes to make the presentation of the projects. Second part of the session will be dedicated to the presentation of our first transnational initiative, a project dedicated to address issues and give support to migrants and refugees, a project developed also in collaboration with the Civic Engagement Task Force, and we'll count on 5 minutes per university also to present our initiatives and activities inside this project. And we'll finalize with the presentation of the Civic Engagement Task Force and specifically with the Civis Label Awards that have been selected or has been worked in that task force in the recent days, according to also to the portfolio of activities that was collected through the Civic Engagement Task Force that this group was preparing during the last month. You will get more details and at that part of the session. Just a quick review of the transnational project on migration and civic engagement that tries to share initiatives, as I said, to support migrants, refugees, and asylum seekers in collaboration with the stakeholders. and try to raise awareness and disseminate activities on the different territories in support to those. So it's time perhaps to give the floor, in this case, to Sofia, Technical Officer of Civis in University of Madrid. I have to move now for 20 minutes or so. So she will introduce the different speakers during the first part of this session, and will be chairing the session. I'll join you again in 20 to 30 minutes to continue with the session, okay? So thank you very much. It's a pity I couldn't be along with you in Athens, but I am sure that we'll have more opportunities to meet in the future. Thank you everyone for organizing actually this, the people in Athens, the Greek team, because you did a fantastic job. We had a beautiful session also yesterday. So thank you, and Sofia, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, José Luis. Okay, so now we are going to see a video that Marseille sent me. So, well, I don't know if anyone from Marseille wants to be here in case there is any, well, presentation that you want to do. Well, thanks.
Yes, you are going to see the video of the project Llama 2, and we are happy because we have our stakeholders with her, our project leader of Llama 2. So if you want to say a word, and then we will watch the video.
Good morning, everyone. So actually, I am from Aix-Marseille University. My name is Céline Damon. I know some of you because I am actually working on CVs for the Horizon Europe project. So this project, it's a personal project from the association we co-created with two others mother. So I propose that we just first see the film like this. You will see about what it is and what we try to do, what we managed to do, because I think we did already a great job. And after I will explain you why this project is, for me, a very good example of what you just said. What can a university do locally and how it's important, and how the involvement of the researchers, but also the students, can also make the difference in very little, maybe things or tiny things in everyday life, but that can make the difference. Parce qu'en plus, c'est en sous-titrage français qui va dessus.
Okay, so maybe you know how to.
Bonjour, je suis Céline, je suis la vice-présidente de l'association Llama de France, qui est une toute jeune association dédiée à une maladie rare, une dystrophie musculaire. Et surtout, je suis l'initiatrice des ateliers qui sont en train de se dérouler à Fuveau. Cette semaine à Fuveau, on a eu pendant 4 jours toutes les écoles de Fuveau qui sont venues découvrir des parcours, des ateliers qu'on leur a préparés avec les étudiants et les chercheurs d'Aix-Marseille Université. Et donc cette semaine a été une semaine de sensibilisation, d'information autour des maladies génétiques, du muscle, du mouvement, mais aussi qu'est-ce que c'était que le handicap, la maladie, la différence, pour faire que ces élèves de primaire deviennent des citoyens, comprennent un petit peu ce qui est en train de se passer et surtout soient sensibilisés à toutes ces causes. Donc les expériences ont été nombreuses et on a essayé de les organiser autour de 3 grands axes. Un axe qui était plutôt autour de la génétique, de la biologie, de la santé. Un axe autour du sport, du mouvement, du sport adapté. Et puis un axe autour de l'inclusion et du handicap. C'était important parce que c'est 3 axes importants dans cette maladie génétique rare, puisque c'est une dystrophie musculaire, donc une maladie du muscle. Et donc c'était pour parler d'une autre façon des maladies génétiques et des maladies rares. Et puis surtout, parce que c'est ce qui nous tenait le plus à cœur, c'était de leur montrer tout l'espoir qu'on avait dans la recherche, dans toutes les recherches, et comment est-ce qu'on espère que ça puisse aboutir à une meilleure prise en charge et peut-être un jour des traitements pour soigner cette maladie incurable. Alors on a eu beaucoup de partenaires dans cette action, bien sûr je ne l'ai pas fait toute seule. On a pu avoir déjà un fort soutien de l'université, donc des laboratoires, bien sûr les laboratoires en santé, en génétique, mais aussi sciences du mouvement à Lumini. Et puis d'autres laboratoires qui sont ajoutés comme l'Institut Fresnel, le PIM, l'IMBE, le CRMBM. Et puis on a eu un enthousiasme débordant des étudiants. Et donc tous ces étudiants et ces chercheurs ont monté eux-mêmes leurs ateliers, les ont animés, nous ont aidés à les concevoir. Et donc ça, c'était une première partie. Puis tout ça, ça ne se serait pas fait sans les écoles. On a plus de 600 élèves qui sont venus dans ces ateliers, même une classe de collégiens. Et pendant le temps de midi, on a même eu des Fuvelins qui sont venus nous voir pour venir à la rencontre des chercheurs, des étudiants, et puis expérimenter, ressentir eux-mêmes dans leur corps, on va dire, par leur sens, tout ce qu'on essayait de mettre en lumière. Oui, il y aura une suite, bien sûr, c'est ça, c'était que la première étape. En fait, l'idée qui a conduit tout ça, c'est une volonté, une grande générosité d'une des écoles à Fuveau, celle où il y a ma fille Tess qui est scolarisée et qui a cette dystrophie musculaire. Et en fait, cet atelier-là n'est que le préalable à un événement solidaire qu'on appelle le marchathon. Donc tous les élèves de Fuveau vont aller utiliser leurs muscles pour marcher pour les lamas 2, pour les enfants, les adultes qui ont cette maladie-là. Et pour clore un petit peu toute cette partie, on voudrait après avoir un retour auprès de ces élèves et de leurs familles sur les espoirs dans cette maladie, la recherche, mais également à quoi servent tous les dons qui vont être récoltés pendant le marchathon. Et puis comme on a eu un financement européen et que c'est le cœur aussi de toute notre action, donc tous les supports, tout ce qu'on a monté, on va le mettre à la disposition d'autres écoles, en France mais aussi à l'étranger, pour pouvoir être réutilisé. Et on présentera les résultats de cette expérience fuvelaine avec les laboratoires d'AMU lors d'une grande conférence, la première qui sera sur la maladie LAMA 2 au niveau international en mars 2023. Donc on portera la voix de tout ce qu'on peut faire et de tout l'enthousiasme qui peut être porté par ce type d'initiative. Thank you. So this was a small film that we wanted to do as well as a result, and so that you have a bit of an idea about what happened there with all our little pupils there. So I won't come back to what we did unless you have questions, and I am there to answer them. What I wanted to stress out was actually the chance I got to get this little seed funding and the support of CIVIS for organizing it. Normally, I should have just done this alone with maybe a few researchers I knew from the genetic department in Marseille. But when I spoke about this project to researchers, it was just a very informal discussion. I just started to see their like spikes in their eyes and saying, yeah, we want to do something. We want to help you. We want to be involved. And from there, actually, we started to have plenty of overlaps from quite every disciplines in Aix-Marseille University. So we even had environmental scientists who came. So to make you understand that when we say interdisciplinary, it really means something. So we constructed really something with several researchers. And the biggest surprise I got was the involvement of the students. I thought initially just about it's especially about the students in sport, because my daughter that you saw, it was with the pink t-shirt, she's fan of football. And she's playing football, soccer, and it's what helped her actually to win time against the disease. So I am convinced that adaptive sport movement is very important. So there is students who are studying that at Aix-Marseille University, and I asked them to come on board so that also they can see concretely why their work is important. So I started to speak with them, but afterwards, I had plenty of other students association who said, hey, we can do something. That's part of what we want to do. We want to come and explain what we are doing and meet all these kids. And we got 4 or 5 associations who also came to just take part to it. So we got these students, which was completely unexpected, and they just brought such an energy and a dynamic that changed quite everything. And also because we got this civis engagement, we could engage plenty of staffs, of services of the university. And at the end, and that's maybe what I am the proudest one, is that I think that the researchers and the students and all the staff, they actually learned even more than the pupils. If you could see them just speaking with them, trying to explain them what they did, their work, answering their questions, and that can be rather difficult question that kids of 6 years old are asking. It was this discussion with them, and everyone was just so enthusiastic about it. And the good thing is that we prepare the future students of in few years, because when I started the project, I always asked them, oh, what is researcher? And everyone said, it's someone who is looking for gold. I say, no, they are looking for something much more important than gold. But they didn't know. And I met them for the Marchathon, so this Pocathon, like 2 weeks ago. And I got several ones said, oh, yeah, me as well. I want to be a researcher. I want to be a researcher. So maybe, who knows, there may be there our hopes and the future of our universities. So I just wanted to tell you that you are all part of universities and you do just a great job, but you can't imagine how and what it means and how it's important. When you say you do local things, local initiatives, you do them and they are important. And we didn't answer a local need, we created the needs, but we created also this enthusiasm, this dynamic, and I think you just should go, and I'm convinced that you should do it, and that's something very, very useful. So that was what we wanted to do, and as said, the idea was to develop this, of course, for one disease, it's a muscular disease, but what we did can be just applied to any other things. We will translate everything, so if you need the content, or if the content you think it's interesting, the organization, the little passport, because they all became European researchers for half a day. We can also, of course, share it with everyone. And I really encourage you also to consider that pupils, so it means the 6 from to 10, which are usually not really targeted by citizen science events. Actually, they are just so curious, and they taught us so much things, and to their parents. And that was also the last important thing, is that this is really a citizen act, and we start by education to these little ones, and it's them which I think can change everything, and can maybe change the mind as well of their parents. And we got the proof there in FIVO. Thanks to all of you, and especially thanks to Philippe. And the team in Marseille.
Okay, so thanks a lot, Celine, for telling us your experience. It's really great to see that you involve all the stages of the university, but also citizens and science. I now envy of those kids that were able to learn about genetics when they were 6. Okay, so now I'm going to give the floor to Sapienza. I think that Sabrina is here with us. Yeah, I can see you. So just if you want to share the PowerPoint, now is the time so I can check that it's working. Just let me know if it works. And afterwards, it will be Athens who shares their open lab that is also online, so you can also get prepared. Okay, now we can see your screen, so, well, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? I hope. Okay, I would like to open my screen, but it's not possible. Okay. I present to you my two research about two important focus in our contemporary period. The first is the project focused on agri-food issues for the definition of a circular system scenarios.
Please have it
In
in
these
full screen.
scenarios, food waste is not longer as waste, but it's a raw material, is a resource. Will these products be able to preserve the distinctive characteristics of the territory of origin while preserving its cultural identities? This is just one of the questions that will be addressed. In fact, food and the practices related to this production and consumption hold a strong symbolic value behind an expression of local identities, but also of the globalization of the product and the standardization of taste. So, working on a mindful eating, awareness is fundamental. Objective of this research will be the definition of this new paradigm on which cities can become a tool for the promotion of a small or a big social revolution, first and foremost stimulating the awareness of most people on the issues, but also activating a sharing modality between stakeholders and initiative designed to bring out the so-called needs and constraints. Finally, thanks to the involvement of project partner companies, students in particular, real solutions and interesting scenarios can be proposed. We hope. The project will also stimulate local communities toward historical, cultural, and socioeconomic reflection on the potential of this approach. The expected impact is growing awareness of sustainable action toward a new economic model of Made in Italy development. The project will also contribute to emerge of a new cultural field online with the circular economy team. We promote all these projects related with our research infrastructure in Sapienza, Saperi & Co. And from this infrastructure, we think to realize a lot of lab with student workshop with the student of secondary school. And another point of our attention is about the preserving some of the sensory properties of the material, like the food, through color, smells, and textures. Waste material are able to restore the distinctiveness of each place. So the project assumed a strategic role, I think, we think. We develop some lab, as I can see, about the transformation of this waste, manipulating the food, the waste with the student with a simple receipt that we have realized. And we can understand how the waste can become new material and new product for us. This is some example of our research and our ZIP. And we have three specific points. We think to have in July a workshop on the Explora Museum, the Museum of Children in Rome. And then we participate in September to the Night of the Researcher. And we present in May in Sapienza Bioplastica Preziosa, a workshop in collaboration with our research center. We think that use the sense to understand the material, and with the sense is very important. So we make some experiment to do that. This is our experience, and this is the first of the two projects. Okay, next. Sorry, I changed my. Okay. And I present you another project. The second project is named Plus Able. The project Plus Able is the open lab that will address the issue of sustainable mobility dedicated to the differently abled in order to promote their inclusion and in contemporary society. Bicycle, and especially in the COVID era, have been pointed out as one of the individual means of transportation to be enhanced, but how this concept can it extend for parents and disabled children? This is just one of the questions that the proposed open lab will address to identify or propose possible solution. Open, universal, the smart city of the near future is accessible and above all inclusive. In fact, if alternative mobility is increasingly becoming as a symbol and a place of which to experiment with a future based on so-called ecological transition, this is not so true in the case of differently able users. Is this therefore fundamental that inclusion and accessibility be integrated into all planning and management processes, both of urban environments and of the products that inhabit the city, and has been happening, for example, for years in the rest of Europe. In the Netherlands, for example, the company Van Ram, a leader in this field, has long since started the production of special bikes dedicated for the use of differently able people. Also in Italy, in the 2012, some enlightened companies have dedicated themselves to this type of production, like this, as Passo Bike. I open the video for you to understand the approach. As you can see, it's possible to imagine a product, but this product is not so interesting, is not so useful, I think. It's a kind of big infrastructure. And we need to improve this approach. Probably with the CV student, we can propose some design activities and prototype proposal, suitable to stimulate the birth of new products. For example, this other company, Ciclovespa, based in Pistoia, developed this kind of approach with a more kind of design approach. So we think with our focus for this project, and we hope that with the students of Civis, we can develop the best for this kind of population. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sabrina, for telling us your experiences in these two beautiful projects. So, okay, now I think it's time for Athens to present their Open Lab. I don't know if she's online. Is she?
Yes,
Okay,
hello.
great.
Can you hear me?
Yep, perfectly.
Okay, let
Okay,
me
great.
share my screen. So, good morning, everyone. I am very happy to be here with you today. I'm going to present to you the Civis Open Lab Cultural Organizations Museum, Dementia and Capacity Building. The aim of the project is to fulfill the important need for capacity building of cultural professionals in Greece in order to develop activities focused on people with dementia and their caregivers, and also an opportunity for collaboration between healthcare professionals, Alzheimer's associations, cultural organizations, and students of cultural museum studies. The main stakeholders of the project is National Capodistrian University of Athens, Alzheimer Athens Association, and the British Council. The project coordinator is Ms. Marlene Moulio, the Assistant Professor of Museology at the National Capodistrian University of Athens, and coordinator of the work package 3 of Civis. The first stakeholder, Alzheimer Athens Association, is a non-profit organization. Its aim is to help people with dementia and health and their families. With all these activities, you can find more information if you want about Alzheimer Athens in our website, alzheimerathens.gr. The next stakeholder is British Council in Greece. It's the UK's international organization. It works with over 100 countries across the world in many fields, and has services and offices in Greece too, in Athens and in Thessaloniki. So what is dementia? Dementia is an umbrella term for a collection of symptoms that are caused by disorders affecting the brain, and can impact the memory, thinking, behavior, emotion, and ability to perform in everyday tasks. The most common type of dementia is Alzheimer's. There's currently no cure, but there are treatments that can help with the symptoms. And with the proper care, people can be independent for a longer period of time. We can see here that in 2015, there will be 135 million people with dementia all over the world. So we can say that dementia is a 21st century epidemic and a major health and social and economic challenge for every country. Also, caregivers play a key role as they provide daily care for them and have to deal with their mental, behavioral, and emotional changes. And all this can cause emotional and physical exhaustion, anxiety, depression, low self-esteem, and physical illnesses, of course. Another important fact is stigma. Is one of the biggest barriers for people living with dementia. They don't feel like an active member of the community. So we have to make more friendly, dementia-friendly communities. And to encourage more people, groups, and organizations to become dementia-friendly. There are some relevant programs worldwide interested for art and dementia in many museums all over the world. This is just a few examples. In Greece, art museums, mainly in Athens, have just started approaching this new target group. And there's a need for more programs and activities to engage people with dementia and their families. So the purpose of the training is to enhance participant skills and knowledge about dementia and develop activities, to help museums involve to promote social inclusion, to raise awareness and understanding about dementia fight stigma, to point out the positive impact of art and culture on people's life, to motivate academics in Greek culture and healthcare sector to collaborate and help people with dementia. And finally, to create a toolkit in order to document the process of this project and to allow for dissemination, replication, and scaling of the activities. So we began in January 2022 with an open call to invite museums to the project. We continue with some online workshops and seminars. Then the participants designed some activities through consulting meetings. And then there was the assessment of these activities through online focus groups and discussion. We hope in June we will have our project toolkit and the total evaluation of the project. The coordinators of all the workshop was Ms. Marlene Moulio and Maria Ekonomopoulou. The total number of participants at this project was 32 from museums and cultural institutions from all over Greece, not only from Athens. So in February, we had our opening meeting. We welcomed everybody. And our first workshop was Alzheimer's disease today, latest developments by Dr. Paraskevi Saka, the president of Alzheimer's Athens Association. And then we continued and learned in March about museums and dementia, and how museums can reach out and help people with dementia and their caregivers. And we learned also about the benefits of physical exercise in dementia. We presented in March the online activities designed for people with dementia and their caregivers at Alzheimer Athens daycare centers, and also many online activities designed from other cultural institutes all over the world. Then in April, we had a consulting meeting where we discussed all the previous workshops, and also professional museum experts from Tyne and Ware archives and museums in UK presented and analyzed examples of activities for people with dementia from the British Museum reality. Then in May, the participants presented the basic structure of the activities they have designed. And also we had a focus group meeting with caregivers of people with dementia from Alzheimer Athens Association, where they contribute to the project with valuable feedback about the activities. Next week, we will have our final meeting with a discussion and conclusion and impressions of the participants. They will deliver a brief report on the project, and we will discuss the next steps of the implementation of the activities they have designed. So the final evaluation of the project will cover two aspects. The first is to evaluate the trainings offered to cultural professionals through focus groups and questionnaires to determine their effectiveness and if there is room for any improvement. The second aspect is to evaluate the activities developed by cultural professionals, and especially the implementation of the activities and the impact and effect they can have. So the expected outcomes from this project is, first of all, for cultural institutions to broaden their audience, for people with dementia and their caregivers to actively participate in the cultural life of their country and improve their quality of life through art and culture. Also for professionals from different fields to collaborate, exchange ideas, and co-create activities. And finally, the toolkit of the project will be developed in order to make these activities we designed accessible to anyone interested. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you a lot. Even we know that yesterday was the museum day, so it is really nice to hear the possibilities that we have with the museums in the cities. Okay, so great. We are going now to give the floors to Javier, that is a professor in our university in the Autónoma of Madrid. So, well, yes, come here and the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. I'm sorry for my voice. I will try to explain the Open Lab from the Autónoma University of Madrid. I am Javier Salido Domínguez from the Department of Archaeology, and we are going to quickly present the Open Lab Heritage for All, Citizen Participation and Social Innovation. Perfecto, no te preocupes. Vale. Okay, thank you so much. As archaeologists, we are interested in the research of a Visigothic church located in the north of Madrid. This is a Visigothic church with a large occupation until the 17th century. Here you can see the church and the tombs dated in the 7th century with funerary interesting objects, rings, and pottery. But here we had to explain the objectives of the Open Lab, whose is the public archaeology, is the heritage for all. Here you can see different strategies for showing the main results of the research. The objective of the Open Lab is to get the community archaeology or public archaeology, in which we promote the social and citizen involvement in the projects. The different neighbors can work in the archaeological site. This is open for all people and who has the experience of the work of the archaeologists. We can, here we can see the different pictures of the archaeological site, in which they can dig, they can draw not only the structures, but also the pottery and another objects. It's like a small community in which all kind of people can help, such as people who work all their life opening the tombs, like the Visigothic funerary tombs from the church. We promote only also the involvement of different research groups from the Autónoma University of Madrid. I am talking about the geology, anthropology studies, the study of the ancient animals, and the restoration and conservation in which the CECIR from University Autónoma de Madrid has worked in this project. We promote only also the participation of the students from different masters, postgraduates, And we consider that if you involve the local population in the archaeological site, we promote the protection and conservation of historical heritage. And we made we have a main objective is the dissemination among the education educational community in our archaeological site. More than 3,000 school children or kids has passed in different workshops, and they can work with us during several days. And all scientific results you can see in the website of University Autónoma of Madrid and the website of the small village in which the archaeological site is. And we had to promote on also the scientific results for all population, organizing the workshops, guide visits, etc., etc. In which the volunteers can explain the work which they have made during the excavation. And in the last year, we promote different recreational and ludic conference in which all people can know the results scientific of this archaeological site. And the press has put the focus on the interest about this project. Here you can see different activities in which the citizen participation is very, very relevant. For us, this is a model for promoting the socially knowledge, in which we had to think about the local enterprise and different agents from the local territory with the objective of getting the social equity, sustainable tourism, and environmental conservation. The Open Lab Heritage for All is focused about on the people, is focused on the interests of the citizens, and we promote all activities in which the citizen can work, can participate in this archaeological site. I don't know if Manuel Chamorro is in the meeting. I would like to connect to a volunteer who works in this project, and he was no, that's not. I don't know. Well, probably I have problems to connecting this one. I can share different images in which you can feel the atmosphere of this project. Okay. Finally, our goal of this project is to move the result, the scientific result of the university to the population, and I think that we has got this one. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Javier, for this nice presentation and video. Well, I think now is the turn for Bucharest to present what they've done, if they agree.
Yes, we are here. We have Atilia.
Okay, great.
Hello, good morning.
Hi, sorry, we were having some lag. Yeah, great. So, yeah, now I see that we can see your presentation. Great. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Good morning. My name is Otilia Mihai. I am volunteer in the Chivis project, Urban Lakes Micro Scouts. And today I'm going to talk about the identification and quantification of microplastics in urban aquatic system for sustainable development. I represent the Biology Students Association as a stakeholder interested in this project. Today, I'm going to talk about the volunteers' aim, the background of microplastics, our materials and methods, and the anticipated impacts and outlooks. Volunteers' aim is to identify the presence, types, and impacts of microplastics in urban lakes of Bucharest, and to pass on the risks to the society. The plastic industry generates a high income, but at the same time, it is an indirect source of pollution. Among others, the main economic fields generators of plastic pollution are the packaging industry, the medical waste, agriculture, buildings and constructions, households, and so many more. By their origins, there are two types of microplastics. Primary microplastics, um, which are particles of plastics smaller than 5 millimeters, which are specially designed to be small for different applications, for example, in cosmetics. And secondary microplastics, which are fragments of large pieces of plastics, which are fragmented and degraded through natural processes into the environment. For example, parts of plastics bags, plastic bottles, cigarette butts, fishing nets, and anything that is made out of plastics. The microplastics can interface with the organisms in the water in many ways. We studied that small filtering animals like micro crustaceans and filtering mollusks can uptake microplastics, and they can transfer it the contents up to the food chains. At the moment, more than 80% of some species populations and more than 100 species are ingesting different amounts of microplastics. Besides the fact that microplastic pose known consequences in the environment, there are some known risks of contaminations like persistent organic pollutants or endocrine disruptors or concentrations of pesticides making it easier to be ingested by various species. And ultimately, there is a risk for human populations. We sampled from 5 lakes in Bucharest. We sampled water and sediment, and then we took those samples into the laboratory and analyzed the particles of polymers using fluorescence microscopy and FTI air spectroscopy. We identify several sources of pollution with microplastics in which the multiple types of microplastics identified in the lakes could originate. We also observed that the process of fragmentation and degradation of macroplastics are happening in those lakes. As a result of our project, we anticipated to acquire personal and professional knowledge transfer between research field and society. We also believe that stakeholders like high school students, local communities, managers of parks and lakes, public administration, will be more involved in finding solutions and implement those solutions. We also intend to organize a Microplastic Awareness Day yearly to point out that plastic pollution can be a personal choice and we could be part of that solution. We thank you for your attention, and don't forget that plastic pollution can be a personal choice.
Thanks a lot for sharing with us your work during this time. So now I think we are going to give the floor to Stockholm. I think Ivar is around.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm here.
Hi.
Ska
Can you
se.
try to share the PowerPoint?
Yes, vänta. Start here. See. And I make it into full screen. It's okay?
Yeah, we can perfectly see it. So yeah, the floor is yours. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Yes, Open Lab Stockholm. To tell you a little background, we are founded by these partners, which are the region of Stockholm, the city of Stockholm, and the 4 major universities here in Stockholm, which Stockholm University is one of them, together with the Technical University, Södertörn University, and Karolinska Institute. And to give you a brief background, so these are our partners and in a way our stakeholders, but of course we have other stakeholders in our project, what we are doing. And we started 2013, so we have been working with our Open Lab for a while. And as you can see here, we are involving, of course, the citizens and the civic society in our processes, what we are doing at Open Lab here in Stockholm. And what we do then here is that we are running master courses, we have PhD courses, we have courses for professionals, and we have a co-creation space and co-creation support. And this we have been doing since the start of Open Lab. And I will go through now to tell you a little more about some of the projects that we have been doing during these last 2 years in accordance with what the CIV is. And before I start, I will just mention how our approach, and we have been also teaching the Open Lab teams in CIVIS about using design thinking, as that is our kind of core approach when we are working with our projects and our challenges. And since we started, we have been working with more than 100 societal challenges in different ways. And we have had like around 700 students involved in our master courses and in our projects, and also approximately around 100 researchers involved in courses, workshops, and projects. And approximately also around 1,500 people from the public sector, citizen civic society in our project. And of course, people from the private companies, approximately around 400 people. And the impact we have been doing, what we do is that we can see that many of the challenges that we are working with, they create an impact. And I can also say to you that of these 100 challenges that we have been working with, around 80% of them is according to the direction of the CIVIS challenges. So you can see here, there is quite a good impact when we follow up what we are doing. And I'm going to go through some of the projects that we've been working in since the last years and involving CIVIS. Here is a project which is a project that started with working with food challenges for elderly care and especially for dementia patients. And we worked here with, it's called Reality Lab, which is the city's test lab at elderly care center for dementia patients. And then they wanted to how to create more the experience, the food experience for the elderly. So the student teams, they was been working with them, they worked with them, and they started to develop an idea of how to use digital experiences to create, using digital way of showing, to create experiences in the physical place where they are at the elderly care home. So they created a kind of different themes that are connecting to the history and of course to the story of the elderly themselves living there. So they have created, and they have been building this and testing it, and now they are developing it to actually becoming a company that they are doing this, and they are having clients, other elderly care homes, and so forth. So this is a project where the students, together with the elderly care homes and the elderly, developed this idea to make this as a digital tool for creating experience that connects to their memories and their history. And yeah, and this is also was a project where they worked with also one company in this project. Here is another one that we've been working on, and it's from the region of Stockholm. It's about how to get people to live to not take the car in the way to the city, to park it in the suburb and take the commuting instead. And this was a project where the students were doing at local different places, where they were working with the citizens and the people and all the stakeholders in the local places. And they found that they needed to create a kind of hub concept where each of these type of hubs needs to be adapted to local needs. And this was a project that got even supported by the region. So the students, they were hired as an intern in the region, who was responsible for all the commuting here in Stockholm. And they developed this concept, and now the region is actually testing this idea in 3 places in Stockholm. And this was supported by the Civic project. Here is another one where we worked with obesity, at the obesity clinic at the region of Stockholm, and that has been a growing problem here in Sweden. And they wanted to create something that is more empowered and access tools to live healthy lives in an obesogenic society. And the students then worked closely with the obesity clinic and with the users, or the patients, and they created a kind of Tamagotchi friend, digital Tamagotchi friend, a system that they are now developing and are doing actually clinical tests with this at the obesity clinic. So this is also a project that has been worked with the CBs. Here is another project that we worked with, how to make parks for children and families in one of our suburbs here in Stockholm that has quite problems with integration. And there we worked and did a lot of workshop with the citizens, those who are living there, the families. And then they created this idea what they wanted to do in this park, how to rebuild it. And the architects was involved there. And then it is now done, and now it's up and running, the park, and it has been a great success. And there has been a lot of people involved in this project. Here is another one that we worked with when we worked with stroke patients, because there's a challenge for stroke patients to transfer from being at the hospital to do rehab at their homes. So here was a project where we worked with the hospitals, different stroke organizations, also the stroke patients was involved in this project to create ideas how to make the stroke rehab at home more successful, and to make this transfer from the hospital to the home much better. And this is also resulting as a dissertation for one of the PhD students involved in this project, and he used this project as one of his parts in his dissertation. Here is another one where we worked with how to, in the citizen's house or citizen's office for the public, how to make it more empowering for the citizen visiting them. And this is also especially in places, in suburbs with integration issues. And we help them together to find ways to define what type of different types of user groups are going to these citizens' offices or citizens' centers. And we did involving the citizens and worked with different organizations and did a lot of work with that. So now they are using this to create more places, the citizens centers more empowering through using different technologies and so forth. Here is a recent project where youth centers in one of the suburbs in Stockholm, how to get them more involved in creating these youth centers for the future. And these youth centers, we did it with different stakeholders. It was different culture centers and different from the city and other organizations and the youth. So we did workshops and looking into what should this youth center, what is this going to be, the content of it. And then they came out with the idea to use this approach, this method, as a constant ongoing process for the youth center, what it will be. So that is also interesting in this case, that they use this as a kind of a method that how to develop the youth center when it's up and running. Here is also another project where we also looked into also about safety and attractions in one of these suburbs, and then to use how to use existing culture values to strengthen already what's going on in this local community. So here we also worked with doing a lot of involvement of the citizens and working with people in this culture sectors that are involved in this, and also of course people from the city. And it's and then there's now developing ongoing ideas for culture activities in that part of the city to create more safety and the attractions. Yeah, that is what I'm going to present here about what's going on.
Thank you, Ivar. Thank you very much. Impressive work. I'm successfully back. I have to attend my Tamagotchi and some of his needs, So, well, very nice work in your Open Lab. Thank you. I think the next in line, according to Sophia's messages, it seems to be ULV. So, Etienne, I think it's your turn. Thank you for
hello
joining
everyone.
us.
I'm going to share my screen. Whoop, not this way. The slides and then share. Is that okay? Does everyone see my screen?
Yes, it's all right.
Yeah,
Fine.
we
Okay.
also see it in Athens, so go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, so hello everyone. I'm really happy to share a bit of our work we've done with the Open Lab Brussels since the beginning of Civis. Just a bit of generalities about the Open Lab of Brussels. It's an Open Lab that has been created 1 year ahead of the beginning of Civis. and that has been created completely independently of the writing of Civis proposals. So it was a mere coincidence that Civis decided to create a network of open labs. But ours, and it's a good coincidence, in fact, but ours has been created by the two main universities of Brussels, the ULB, the French one, and its Flemish counterpart that is called the VUB, Vrije Universiteit Brussels. So this is a big communitarian open lab that we've been building with this hybrid, with a hybrid team for the past 3 years. And to give a very quick summary of the intentions and mission we have defined after this creation stage, we've defined 6 different missions, 6 different functions of the Brussels Open Lab. The first one is a learning place for all the stakeholders, including members of the universities, a place to learn about the city and learn about new practices. An exploratorium that can be used, that is meant to be used to explore new possibilities, new practices, new ways to behave and to use the city and the territory. A meeting space for the different stakeholders. A place of reference where we can cultivate new practices that we can share and we can nurture for years. An instrumentarium that can be used for different stakeholders to join and then to address local challenges. And a place around which a global ecosystem would be constructed and connected on a very small district scale, for instance, but at a regional scale and then at an European scale, of course. So I'm going to share with you today the project that we've been funding through the seed funding mechanism. This funding has been allowed to Promotion, an association that is working in the French community. I suppose that most of you know that there are 2 main communities in Belgium that are the French one and the Dutch one. And then Promotion is mainly working with the French community. It's focused on young people under 31 and offer 3 activities to these people. For instance, project support, but also many activities in the field of sport, school, cultures, and art. And one of its main mission is to promote confidence, respect, and self-esteem to the young people. The project we've been working with the Promotion is the City of Youth, Cité de la Jeunesse. It's a place that they've been co-constructed with young people to encourage these ones to live together and become emancipated through the design of this city that is created by and for them. The City of Youth has been thought as a device allowing active citizenship, but also the meeting of young people that would not meet either in school or during their leisure time. So they've co-created the basic architecture, the basic model of the City of Youth with 450 students from 14 to 20 years old coming from 12 different schools. And so they've been co-creating this model that they are going to use under a very nomadic nature, a place that will travel from a couple of every couple or every 3 years between one place to another, so that they can make this device available for the entire region. and they're been currently located on the north of Brussels. So this project was already running, and it was for this particular project that they submitted a proposal for the seed funding. Here are some pictures of what's happening there. A lot of different young people doing many different activities, and there they were actively building their physical city of youth. So for the seed funding, it was clear that it was interesting to work with them because they had previous collaboration with people from the academic sphere, sociologists from the ULB to work on the topic of mixed social groups, linguists from the VUB to address the topic of mixed linguistic communities, as I told you, French, Dutch, and much more others. And they had previous collaboration with the Science Outreach Department from the ULB and also from the Civic Engagement Association, ULB Engagé, to work on transversal collaborative tools for kids and youngsters. The objective of the seed funding was to make a co-experimentation of the model, to transpose the model of the City of Youth in the educational world, but also outside in the free time, recreative time of the youth. And then to create a socio-economic cultural twinning breeding between all these different youth. To allow multicultural skills of cooperation and reciprocity with the help of all the different people, stakeholders from the Brussels fabric of making, creation, and companionship. The initial program submitted to the seed funding was to work with inter-school meetings, 60 classes in pair with diverse socio-economical profiles. With different activities, different steps, philosophy cafe, visits, co-creation workshops, and then that will be ended by a final exhibition. But life is not that simple, and especially the past 2 years, they have experienced really important difficulties to deploy the project during the past academic year. Of course, due to the sanitary restriction, but also to other difficulties they've experienced as an association, logistic constraints that were led to the fact that the City of Youth is actually located in a temporary occupation site, but also of institutional weakening because the sector of social cohesion and work with the youth has experienced severe budget cuts from the federal and communitary governments. So due to this fact, it had a strong impact on the life of the City of Youth. They experienced the partial and even total closure. They faced the fact that schools were disengaged due to those sanitary restrictions, and that led to successive increased delay in the agenda. So that was a really difficult situation for them. So that asks for adaptation into the program. So we had to reschedule the seed funding program they've proposed. So the Open Lab accompanied the team to reevaluate the task and the objective to sustain the growth, the development of the City of Youth. Our first intention was to strengthen their growth because we feel that their model, their idea is really important for the region. So the funding was there to facilitate their development. So we accompany them to look at their difficulties as creative constraints. So in other words, to use these crises they are facing to think out of the box. So then to re-explore, to upgrade the model of the City of Youth through a co-creation session that they will be leading during the next weeks. and then through participatory workshops with youngsters in the city. So they are rephrased a bit, they are adapted a bit their program due to the circumstances. I will finish with these two questions. What can we learn from this case? Can we use this singular, this difficult experience to construct our open lab practices? I think that we can definitely do something great from that. The first thing, and I would like to share with you some conclusion and some thing we've learned from this situation. The first one is that we can't let them down. We are not only giving financial support to these stakeholders. We have to sustain the relationship we have with them. We have to own it, maintain tight bonds to make sure that we can grow from this collaboration. I think that we can bring a lot by giving a third-party perspective. We have the kind of bird eye view, zoom out, to have a whole picture of the situation, and that was this third-party perspective that allowed us to propose them to do a side step on their situation and try to use the difficulties as a creative constraint. Next, our universities are very large institutions, and I think that this way our open apps can offer the strength and the stability of a university to nurture long-term collaboration and support these local actors. And then this way, by providing all this care on this relationship, on this long-term relationship, we can create real synergies. We can come with the best of each of us to collaborate and accomplish things that would be impossible for each of us alone. That's it. So I wanted to show you this case that is very untypical, that can seem to be not that successful, but I think we can learn from that. And that was what I want to share with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Etienne, for your ideas and insights on the potential of the Open Lab network. I think we have University of Glasgow next. They are on site, so please go ahead when you get ready.
Perfect. Hello, everyone. My name is Monique Campbell, and I work for Glasgow University and Glasgow Centre for Population Health that I'm going to speak a little bit more about today. So Glasgow Centre for Population Health is one of the partners in the University of Glasgow's Open Labs, and we're about to launch a collaborative small grants fund, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that today. So Glasgow Centre for Population Health is a small partnership organisation that sits sort of in the parameters between policy, practice and research. We're a partnership organisation set up by Glasgow University, our National Health Service, Glasgow City Council, and we're funded by the Scottish Government. So our mission is to generate insights and innovative ways of tackling health inequalities in the city and nationally. We have quite distinct ways of working. So we have 4 distinct work programmes and 8 ways of working. And really the one that I want to focus on today is my remit, which is community engagement and empowerment. So at the centre, we're a really small team of 3 that focus on this way of working. And our role is really to support our researchers and our partners in the public sector and academics to do community engagement and empowerment work. So really to share power with local communities. So a key mechanism for this, sorry, I don't know why the small font there is overlapped, but the key mechanism of this is sharing money, basically. So we set up a small grants fund to fund organisations in Glasgow and Greater Glasgow to work on youth-led projects around climate change in the run-up to COP26. So we really wanted to use our platform to platform the voices of young people. So we funded in the first round, so this ran over 2 years, in our first round we funded 8 organisations locally, and our second round was ring-fenced for minority-led organisations because we didn't have a huge amount apply the first time around. So what I want to do today is show you one of the youth-led projects, because I think it would be much more interesting for you to hear from the young people themselves. So this is a short video from Milton Bank Primary School looking at the impact of climate change on health and well-being in their local area. I might need some help. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. So do you want to share the video now? So. Yeah. So, yeah.
The world to me is just like, it feels like, well, it feels like another, like a second heaven to me. Even though I feel big, I'm actually a tiny ant in the spectrum of the universe. We all feel big. Yeah, we're basically possibly the size of a plank length. Against this 93 billion light year universe.
Milton is a beautiful place because they have like loads of parks and then have beautiful houses. When you stay there, you feel like that's your house, your real country. The world is a place that we need to appreciate because we all live there, and one day it might actually end. There's so much happening right now. Like we've got corona, we've got global warming happening, we've got many problems. I've noticed that like some people might be feeling like anxious and they're not going to talk about their feelings or what their emotions are like. Sometimes I just wish all my worries will just all fly away and I just dream.
I start looking up at the stars, and then I'll be happy again.
The world belongs to everybody. Some people don't have that much, if anything, while other people have too much.
People don't care that they're on like a beautiful planet. Like they don't care, like they think the world's never going to end and they can just like live forever.
Everything you have, everything that you like is on this planet, and you will event left if it dies. Once the planet dies, you can rebuild it.
I planted a hawthorn tree and I planted it like in a big tuft of grass in front of the school. Look, this is mine. A hawthorn tree means love and protection. I think everybody should plant a tree.
If we don't act now, then everything will be destroyed. If we act now, we could change it.
We need to fight for this world. We need to help each other so like we can build something like bigger if you help each other and be kind and nice to the people. They've been nice to you and the world is being nice to you.
I have a roof over my head and something to eat, and I'm very grateful for that because many children don't and can die in poor countries. Everyone should be grateful for what they have because while they're sitting there warm, dry and with a meal, there's other kids out there starving to death.
I think it's unfair how kids have to die for no reason and they can't even have education like we have, and then they can't even go outside because they might get killed. Every single child should have the right to go outside, play with their family and not get killed.
I was born in Aleppo and I had to leave Aleppo in Syria because of the war. I had no choice because if I stayed I would have died. When the war began, everyone started to run. I was running for my life. It's like playing a game. You're thinking of the future all the time. You're like, how's your life going to be? Where are you going to live? I'm 12. I survived the war. Like, no child should go through something like I did. We're just still children.
My biggest dream. I just hope that the world goes in a good direction, or I just hope that everyone can take a moment and realise, like all the bad people can take a moment and realise what they're doing and how much it's affecting people, and just everyone to take a moment to realise that you can't live forever, so you need to make your life worth it, and we need to respect everything.
Well, thanks a lot.
Yep.
It's been
Not quite
yeah.
finished. Sorry.
Okay.
I won't say a huge amount more. I wanted to let that speak for itself, but really just to explain that we funded 13 similar projects. They were all youth-led, working with local community organisations just to support their skill, capacity and development. So some groups did films like this, others we had a youth panel that trained younger children, so they were maybe 14, 15, trained even younger children to interview local politicians and hold them to account on their policies around climate change. So really an absolutely phenomenal range of organisations and young people. And our role as a funder was really interesting in this, particularly during the pandemic, because we had to shift, like everything we were doing online. The organisations themselves shifted from planning their projects in the physical world to, within 2 weeks, shifting to online. So really, as a funder, what we learned, I'm not going to share a huge amount, I don't want to speak for too much longer, and we've got a blog where you can read everything about this project. But really the key things were the flexibility. So initially this was a 6-month project. It ended up being well over a year, but we had a team of 6 of us at the Centre for Population Health, and each one of us was matched with a community organisation so that we could provide that ongoing support with any questions about the fund and what they were able to use the fund for. A lot of the organisations changed what they were using the money for entirely, and we had to be completely open to this. So there's a huge amount of learning that comes from 2 years of delivering this fund that we're now, this is a little bit more headlines about what we learned, but now our plan is to join, thanks to the Open Labs, with Glasgow University to deliver an even bigger fund, but to bring a research element to this. So the whole idea of this project was sharing power with local groups, understanding what mattered to them, and now using that to understand what our priorities for research should be. So it's really that shift to community-led priority setting. So through the fund that we're just about to launch on Monday coming, community organisations can apply for up to £2,000. Previously, it was £2,500, but for bureaucratic reasons, we have to have it a little bit lower for the partnership. And these projects can go towards any type of sustainability programme as long as it fits into the Sustainable Development Goals, as we all know, are pretty broad. So anything that local groups want to do that matters to them. But our role as the university in this is to support collaborations with researchers through this programme. So although there's no stipulation that groups have to have a research partner, initially we're going to build in opportunities for that learning and development and network building throughout the fund, and hopefully going forward that will build community-led research partnerships. So that's our project. Thank you for listening.
Well, thank you very much. Beautiful projects and video. My most sincere congratulations to the filmmaker and producers. If this were Eurovision, you'll get my 12 points. You know, it was a beautiful video. So, and actually, I don't know if it's available through your website, but I love to know it and share it if possible here at my own university, because it's wonderful, believe me. Okay, let's move on. I think next we have a short video from University of Tübingen, if I'm not wrong. I don't know if Jan is around and wants to introduce it, or he's not.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Just give me a second to open the video, or I will do a short introduction.
Great.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm Jan. I just took over the Open Lab coordination from my colleague Elena, who's present at parental leave. Yesterday, I reported that we launched 4 Open Lab projects, and unfortunately, no one of the researchers could be here today because they have other obligations, but Vanessa Weigold provided a small video. Actually, we will just have a look at the first part of the video because we are a little behind schedule, but afterwards we will have time for questions. So if you have any questions afterwards, feel free. I will try to answer them because, as I said, I just took over.
So this.
Yes, Vanessa is actually a lecturer of the Open Lab Small Business Management and the Emotional Implications of the Pandemic, and she now will present the approach. A major challenge was that, obviously due to the pandemic, they couldn't meet in person. They thought meeting in person is quite important for really being able to express emotional feelings among each other. So they faced some difficulties. We can talk about it afterwards, but in the first step, I will now present the video.
I am Vanessa Weigelt, PhD student in philosophy at Aix-Marseille and Tübingen universities. I recorded this video because I cannot be present, but I still wanted to report on my Civis Open Lab from last semester. I will start with the general idea of the course, then talk you through the three components of the course with a focus on the reports from the business partners, and finish on the plans for this semester. The idea of the Open Lab is that students and lay people can learn from one another and support each other. The idea of the course I taught with Lecica Hoppo was born during the first pandemic lockdown. We had wondered what economic and emotional experiences small businesses and their owners go through. Also, we thought that students might have a double interest in this question, since as customers, they enjoy small shops and cafes in a living city when there is no lockdown. On the other hand, one day, they will also be working and could probably learn a lot from the business owners and how they had gotten through this crisis. So our course had three components: the theoretical classes, the practical interviewing, and the discussing with the business partners, and finally the presentation and discussion with all people involved. In the theoretical part, the students learned about small business management, especially the business model canvas, as an analysis tool that would give them and their interview partner an idea of the resources, relationships, and activities of the business and help them make value propositions. Also, they got insight into basic emotion theory, how the pandemic as a crisis had triggered stress and how one could deal with that. We also looked into the research that had been done on small businesses in the pandemic, the gender aspect that had been revealed. Mothers often did more care work than fathers, as well as the fact that communication and job autonomy mitigated the effects. Also, businesses with a high level of digitalization had been shown to be more resilient than others. This being the case, we also provided them with information on guerrilla marketing and a social media presence for small businesses. In the aim of letting small businesses and students learn from one another, we put them in contact with three businesses from Tübingen: a hairdresser and makeup artist, a personal trainer, and a fair fashion shop. The students met with the business owners and interviewed them on their personal experiences. Based on the answers, the students proposed their ideas on how to change the marketing strategy in the lockdown period. The results have been presented by the students on our last course day in a workshop where we invited also the business partners. All three businesses had been closed during the lockdowns. The hairdresser and makeup artist told us that she always had had a hygienic concept and therefore was frustrated that businesses like hers had not been entrusted to work out better concepts and stay open. Her business was built on the idea of helping people relax and have a good time. She did not call them customers, but guests, and she was very disappointed to not being able anymore to provide this good time to them. She tried to sell at least her products on the phone and explain how to use them, but this was not really what she wanted to do, and it did not work so well either. The students proposed to her that she could maybe shoot small videos and show how to use the products. As she was not really into digital media, she was a bit reluctant to this idea, but wanted to give it some thought.
So we will stop here. As I said, we are a little behind schedule and have other important things to discuss. Vanessa will report, or in the video she will report what the students came up with for ideas for the shops. And we also had that one big problem really was for all our small shops that they are not really familiar with social media and online marketing. And they also were a little reluctant to go that step. In the next semester or the ongoing semester, the students will further work with the customers, not the customers, the business owners, to help them to overcome the obstacles, even though they are open yet, but they want to improve. And we will invite some other small businesses and entrepreneurs to meet with new students. One other problem was that the students weren't really motivated to come into the course, so we had not that much applications. That seemed to be a general problem, at least at Tübingen University. I hope we can also address that kind of topic during our talks here, because I hope it's just a Tübingen problem, and I hope you have the solution to motivate students to interact more, participate more in the open labs. So thanks a lot. That's it from my side. Do you have any questions? Okay, I don't see any questions. I think then I will give up to Sophia, or do we have a Jose?
Yeah, Dan, thank you very much. Yeah, I think there will be time for questions during the coffee break, perhaps. It seems that we are running out of time for that, so it's better to move on. Thank you, Jan, and in particular for coming on board so quickly and integrate your activity in the Open Lab network so fast. And thank you. Thank you for that.
Thanks a lot.
So I think it's time for the break, and we'll be back in about 20 minutes with the transnational initiative and also the presentation from the Civic Engagement Task Force. Thank you very much. See you in a few minutes. Welcome back. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, in essence, we can also hear you.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to mention that probably you all know, but it is important for the proper arrangements to make a reminder. You'll have two site visits after the lunch to two places that Marlene kindly organized from Athens. The idea is to visit an NGO specialized on the empowerment of migrants and refugees in relationship with the transnational project initiative that we are going to present now. And there is another site visit program to the Pocket Park in the Athens city in order to know more about the Open Lab project greening our neighborhoods. It's important that you sign in a sheet that there is on table over there to let Marlene know who is going to attend, so they can organize things properly and capacity of the rooms and so on. So Marlene, I don't know if you want to add something.
Yes,
to this.
thank you, Jose. Yes, we have a plenty of space for everyone who would like to join. I don't think that would be a problem. I suggest we start from here 2:30, so after lunch, or a 2:15, so that we leave at 2:30. The first site is 20 minutes walking distance from here. I suggest we go on foot because it's always easier to coordinate how fast we go on foot rather than going in and out the metro. So 20 minutes to go to the first site, which is Melissa Network, a community center for the empowerment of women, migrant and refugees. And we'll stay there for about an hour, or a little bit more. And then from there, the second visit is in a pocket park, to a pocket park. It's like 25 minutes walking distance from one to the other. So it's also an opportunity for you to walk through Athens with us. So, and the weather will be better than in the morning. So that's the plan. 2:15 we meet here, and then we go together as a group to the two sites. And you tell me, you write your name there just to know who is coming and to wait for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Marlene. Well, I don't know what the weather is in Athens, but here we are suffering a heat wave, a tremendous heat wave these days, being hotter than usual. Okay, well, let's move on. Let's start with the transnational initiative. As I promised during my presentation, let me remind the content of the initiative and the roots of it. The transnational initiative was born in response to a certain need that we identified in the Open Lab network, and it was the creation of spaces where the Open Labbers, the Open Lab coordinators, could work together in the accomplishment of different activities and try to promote synergies, as Etienne was mentioning as well. So the idea of this workshop is now to present part of the progress we made in each university and try to find these common points of interest for all of us, so we could really create something bigger, something that could be actually more, or could create more impact in the European scenario, and of course in our territories at the same time. So as I said, the main purpose of our today session is to share initiatives in the different territories in order to raise awareness and disseminate part of these activities, and of course contribute to the transmission of knowledge also from the universities in a process of co-creation also with NGOs and other main actors in the field. The order we are going to follow is going to be, if you all agree, similar to the previous one, but will remain for the last ones, just in case we need to adjust time, because well, it's important to finish by the lunchtime, of course. So we'll start with Marcel. After that, we'll have the presentation from La Sapienza. We'll continue with Athens, Bucharest, ULV, Stockholm, Glasgow, Tübingen, and finally us from Madrid. So University of Marseille, I see Valerie getting ready. So as soon as she can make it, you can go ahead.
Thank you, José Luis. Yes, Aix-Marseille University as a first activity within the our new Civis Open Labs network, proposed to join the Condé in Aix-en-Provence for training. This is because Condé is a part of a UNESCO chair with, sorry, just adjusting the PowerPoint. Yes. Aix-Marseille University and Condé created together a UNESCO chair for education for citizenship, human sciences, and the convergence of memories. So the idea was for the Open Labs, the Open Labs coordinators or their team to join and have this training. So most of us were in Aix-en-Provence, it was in February, I think, for this training. The first day was a guided tour of the former internment camp, and we discussed subjects as around what occurred during the Second World War and the persons interned in this camp. This was the first day, and then in the afternoon of the first day and then in the second day, we began the training, and we discussed subjects as representations and behaviors, racism and anti-Semitism, and discriminations and law. The idea was to be trained to accompany the project leaders we have in the Open Labs to go through this labeling. The idea for that labelization is to, for any structure wishing to develop a civic project on one of these themes, racism, anti-Semitism, or discrimination, or it can be xenophobia, or identity-based extremism, I would say. The Condé provide an accompaniment for labeling, and we as Open Lab coordinators can, through this training, also accompany this labelization. So it was why we wanted to begin with that as a common activity within the network. So then each Open Lab will have to find a project, the project suitable for this label, and accompany it through the certification. The second step, sorry, it's about the Condé. The second step, we had the opportunity to invite students from all Civis universities at seminar, European seminar organized by the Association Citizens Campus in Marseille, sorry. They involve Civis students within this European Citizen Campus seminar, which will take place in June in Marseille. So we have 22 students altogether, 2 from Aix-Marseille University, so 20 students coming from all our universities to this transnational seminar on civic engagement. So the idea was for them to have a concrete experimentation of local forms of citizen commitment with European resonance, and a co-construction of responses to European challenges. That's it. I wanted to be short to leave time. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. So La Sapienza, I think, is next. We have Andrea online. Hello,
Yes.
Andrea.
Hi. We have also Julia in the room, so I'm glad that there's both representation of like Work Package 3 and Civic Engagement Task Force. Maybe could you enable me to share? Otherwise, I have to move on another laptop.
Okay, I'm not sure how to do that from here.
Okay, let me check if I
because
can do
the
so.
host
Try to be sure.
computer is there. I think Marlene is working on it.
Andrea, can you share now?
I'm trying. Give me just a second. Oh. Not really. Maybe you can move to the other, like to the following partner, and I will try to understand how can I fix this. Can I fix
I think
this?
you can.
It could also be my problem on one side.
Now, try now, Andrea.
No? Okay.
Not really.
Okay, we can move to Athens if you want, Andrea, and try to fix it in the meantime. I know that Ivar had some issues yesterday, so if you are using Macintosh, you can ask for some advice privately through the chat.
Exactly, that's the issue. So I'm moving on a Microsoft laptop.
Okay. Oh, so would Athens be ready?
We are trying.
Okay, don't worry,
Find
Marlene.
everything.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Take your time.
Yes, but is it shared? Please. Okay. Wonderful. Okay, hello everyone. I'll try to be very brief and summarize the roadmap we created a couple of months ago, actually in February, late February. We were very ambitious. We wanted to collect a lot of different data that we didn't have at the university. So we created this quite meticulous roadmap of different steps to collect big data and analyze them within the university, do fieldwork focus groups with different students and graduates with migrant background, and develop other activities as well. What was our challenge, and still is that the data that is available is not easy to decipher, to analyze along the research questions we posed. Like we have a lot of information about the entries of students for undergraduate studies, but we cannot be sure only by their country whether they are migrant or with a migrant or refugee background, or whether they are under special conditions of entry. So a lot of this work that has never been done before, and that will be the novelty of this project, that we will try to collect, analyze, interpret data, and perhaps make it workable information for the university in the future. We will do it within this fast track process in the next 2 months. We have already started. As you see, the objective is to develop an overview of the student population with a migrant refugee background, to investigate the situation of Greek repatriated immigrants whose the families left the country for various reasons in the past, going to Germany, Sweden, Russia, and returning back to Greece at some point, but they were perhaps with Greek identity or with a mixed identity, most likely, and to grasp the momentum right now in relation to an emerging student population with refugee background that is coming from Ukraine. And certainly, like 5 years ago, Greece will receive this big wave of refugees and try to find meaningful ways to integrate them and to support them. So the first is to map the national legal framework concerning the entry criteria for immigrants and refugees. Not even that is not so straightforward. So we try to gather all the legal documents and see them and analyze them with connection to the big data that we collect to see whether they match. So for instance, if we have big numbers of entries during a year, if that is a phenomenon that is correlated with a specific new law that was implemented. What we find for sure from the data is that we have high rates of entry graduate students in priestly studies, in religious studies, theologiki, as we say in Greek, which is quite interesting also in relation to what theologiki stands for, is the education to orthodoxy, to the Orthodox dogma. Another issue is to see how some structures like the Teaching Center for the Modern Greek Language supports the non-Greek speakers students in their entry point to the university. So for instance, foreign students who do not know Greek can go to this center and learn very quickly Greek in order to get the first diploma, and which gives them the qualification and the criteria to enter the university through exam process. And also see this, how it works, how it helps, how it empowers non-Greek students to really follow the system. Because, for instance, if we have a lot of students in the university with an Albanian background, that doesn't mean that they don't know Greek. Perhaps they know Greek through the secondary education they followed while they were born and lived in Greece for many years. So the data we collected is really huge, and we find, show you this, interactive. Sofia Messini, who is a big data analyst, is helping us with that, trying to make some understanding of this information. So far, we can briefly tell you that the big number of 7,000 international students we have at the University of Athens is a number that goes across the 10 last years, 12 years that we have as data collection. But mostly it corresponds to the last 5 years, from 2017 onwards. There is a big representation of countries, 103 countries from all over the world. But what is striking is that we have big numbers from certain countries like Cyprus, which makes sense. Cyprus is a Greek-speaking country with a lot of Cypriot students coming to Greece. That was always the case. But also Albania, as I said before, because in Greece we have a big community of Albanian citizens who came to the country from the 1990s. And only now the children of 2 Albanian parents can get the citizenship, the Greek citizenship. So their citizenship is Albanian. Even so, they speak very good Greek because they entered the Greek system from early on. And we have also other countries like Germany, France, Romania, Ukraine, Italy, and now China coming more and more into the data. Other interesting facts is that we have a big distribution, we have a different distribution among the schools. The School of Philosophy has the biggest percentage of representation of foreign students, and the less so is the School of Law. Perhaps also because law in Greece, the School of Law is extremely good school at the Athens University, but it's mostly about Greek law. So might not be that appealing for foreign students. We are also trying to understand the data with gender focus lens. Interesting it is that the most 66% of the international students are female, also because there are many more representations in the School of Philosophy, which is a female school, more and more as it seems. Men are underrepresented in the School of Education, but mostly they are represented in the School of Sciences. And women are underrepresented in the School of Physical Education, School of Theology, of course we understand why, and the School of Sciences. Now, that was the quantitative part of our research that is ongoing, and it will give us even more information as we go into the deep analysis of the data. Professor Isari from from the Department of Psychology is leading a number of focus groups to undertake qualitative research with undergraduate and graduate students, and she set up a methodology of work to understand their life stories and how this affected their educational progress, but also their life at large. I'm not going into much detail because this is a part of the project that is now being developed and will give a lot of interesting insights in the next month, which will culminate to June. June, we have scheduled an open day, 21st of June, with participants from the focus groups, from the groups that Professor Isar is developing now, with students who will be willing to share their stories with the public, and also researchers, professors who are from Athens University and beyond, who have experience with working with migrants and refugees. Also today, starting from today, the site visit we will do to the Melissa network is integrated into this experience of the transnational project. Melissa network is extremely experienced, a community center who has developed very empowering, interesting projects with women and their children. And they are potentially a very important example to understand how a university can work with an NGO for real change in society. And we hope that all this we will try to also capture on films. Film is a very important medium of communication, and we'll end by doing this and collaging everything together by the end of June or July. So that was about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Marlene. Fantastic job. Well, actually, to study philosophy in Athens must be a great deal, you know. The classicals have been connected.
You are welcome to come.
Yeah. It's very, must be very appealing. I understand perfectly. Well, thank you. This is a very good example of what the transnational project is all about. I've heard that Andrea is ready to go. So please, Andrea, go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to share the screen. Okay, and it works. Great. This also in presentation, perfect. So again, good morning to everybody. Glad to be here, and I guess that we could learn a lot from our transnational project proposal. Today, I will present you very briefly, trying to be on time, the idea that we had here in Sapienza. And first of all, we started from an assumption that we as Sapienza, but other many universities across Europe, are very committed to the migration issues, especially as topic concern training and research. So hosting, for example, students refugee or scientists refugees. But as we are relevant actors in terms of cultural exploitation and are cultural actors of our territory, our idea was to work on the other side of the topic of migration. That was give value to the role of migrants and refugees and asylum seekers in the artistic and cultural context. And we moved from two main questions, which is how much nowadays the European culture is influenced and also cross-fertilized by integration. So, and how society and how much society can benefit and enrich from this mutual influence. So how many experience, for example, of cross-fertilized artistical production do we have? And how they try to encompass joint values that could shape the future European citizenship, for example. So we had the idea, the first Sapienza Festival on Migration Theaters. We never coped with such an experience, and we're excited to do so because we really want to support and award artistic and cultural products and performances with and for migrants and refugees, supporting new forms of expression starting from theater. In this sense, we say that theater will be
ideally our first stone of a longer path trying to explore this cross-fertilized cultural production. Of course, we had some phases and we are still working on this to achieve our objective. And the first phase is the call. We will be able to launch a call to select the best expressions of inclusive theater. This means that we are asking for, at this first stage, Italian, I would say, registered in Italy company that has in their staff a high number of migrants and we test preferably from the countries of origin. In this sense, we will select their performances through a presentation of the company itself, a synopsis of the show that they want to perform, and then with a short video that will be very important also for the future activities, a 5-minute short video to present what they're going to perform. The award. By mid-June, we will have the results of this call through the work of a commission appointed by our rectors of experts that will evaluate and award the 5 most promising performances, giving them, I would say, a lump sum reimbursement according to a little different reimbursement from the first level to the 5th one, in order to have them in the festival to perform in 3 days their works, their artworks and their shows. We are very proud also to see that we will have these 3 days in July. Probably there will be between the 12th and the 14th of July. We are just defining the data for live performances in a location that we love a lot, which is our internal theater of Sapienza, that due to renovation has been closed for a long time and just like 2 months ago opened again to the public, and this will be one of the first occasion to present this theater to the citizenship and to the community. And of course, in this work of organizing the festival, we will look for the cooperation of both institutional actors, thus engaging policymakers, but also of civil society organizations that have already worked with companies and with the issue of inclusion and cross-fertilization of artistical expression. And another important step is that relating of the creating of awareness. As I told you, the videos were very important because these videos that has been collected for the evaluation will be projected in our ideas simultaneously with the festival in Sapienza and, if you like, in all civics universities. And will also be used for online dissemination that will move until September. So trying to organize small interviews, small happenings, some round tables, starting from the performance that we had and to foster the debate about the theme of how cross-fertilize European culture and artistic expression. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrea. Well, I'm looking forward to watching the videos that you produce out of it. It's clearly a great idea. And I'm sure that if I have the chance, I could share also here your initiative, because it can be also an ongoing project here for many others, academics especially, that want to engage with this form of dissemination, which is very, very nice. So thank you. Yeah. So next is, I think, Bucharest. I see Magdalena online. Hello, Magdalena.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, I think Delia is there.
Yeah, Delia did a great job yesterday.
Yes, thank you.
Here, we are preparing.
And I will come back with more clarification after the presentation.
Great. Thank you for attending.
So it will take a while till we be able to upload a very short presentation. And after the so creative project from Sapienza, we are going back to a more traditional approach in Bucharest because we don't have such a strong experience with refugees and migrants. But unfortunately, due to the international context, since February, we are having, we are basically the second country in receiving the refugees from Ukraine after Poland. So this kind of changed our perspective on the problem and made us think a lot about these issues and try to organize everything on site, raise awareness, but at the same time take action in order to help the refugees. And I think that we've done a great job. I've been at the end of last month in Suceava, which is a border city, and I could see basically on site how people are mobilizing themselves to welcome the refugees and make them feel at home. And even in Bucharest, we are opening our houses for them, and not only. And at the same time, in Romania, all the universities are open to refugees from Ukraine. They can enroll in in all of the levels of the studies for free, and they can for this year and the next year. So far, we don't know what will happen next, but we will be, I think, better prepared to. It's a problem.
Yeah, the USB is not working. Sorry, and it is not the PowerPoint is not on the TV.
Can you open it here? Would you
Yeah.
open it on the laptop, and even if you cannot share it?
Yeah, I cannot. That's the point. Like I don't have the file is neither in the USB,
Oh,
not in the TV box. Sorry. Just trying if you have. Yeah, sorry, just a bit technical problem. In a couple of minutes, we will have it. Thanks.
Well, basically, you'll see the presentation. As I've told you, it's very short, but I wasn't directly involved, and therefore I don't know exactly all the steps. So the project is, of course, as any other activities in the Open Lab in Bucharest, under Vice Rector Magdalena Platis' coordination. But specifically, this project is run by our colleagues in the Faculty of Geography due to their specialization in migration, of course, and they are involving both academics and students from all levels. So this project aimed to explore the current specificities of the migrant and the refugees experience and to bring together different parts of the community and start a long overdue dialogue. That was at the beginning when we didn't know that we'll start a war at our borders. Therefore, the four main objectives of this project were to organize a roundtable with stakeholders and to discuss all the problems that we have in our legislative procedures for migrants and refugees. And we are trying to access essential public services like healthcare, education, and this was done in the first 2 months of the project, March and April. After that, we are planning to organize a focus group with NGOs representatives and take advantage of their experience in helping migrants and refugees to access these services and implement those services and their experience in our faculty, in our university. And the last two objectives were to identify and discuss with students and graduates with migrant and refugee background about their experience. And on June, should be a one-day event with as a round table in which everyone sits down and discuss everything. So now, due to the context that I have told you, we are dealing not only with the refugees from refugees background in our university, but with the ones that will plan to come as students in University of Bucharest. And basically we will try to implement all the measurements right away, such that we make them efficient. And I think that Professor Platis will fill in the gaps of my explanations. But
thank you very much. Thank
yeah.
you, Delia. If I may, just few comments in addition to the presentation, that the project, this one being a transnational, we have waited so much for it to become true. We have the colleagues from the Faculty of the Faculty of Geography involved. They called me yesterday to help them in getting the institutional support for administrative reasons and issues like financial aspects. As they want to have doctoral students get really engaged, and students from master degree, and we need to support them financially to go in the area with refugees. But like I said, it's a real challenge for us. Nevertheless, we have specialists, but mostly in research area, but not in facing real, changes in the community due to the previous limited number of the refugees in Romania. But now we have to be part of this process and to learn from other institutions, and CIVIS is a good opportunity for us to become, for instance, from a legislative point of view, first of all, very, very well prepared in this area. So it's a challenge for us. We are in the middle of the project to get the proper survey from the refugees in the region. And a lot of enthusiasm, I can confirm, I can confess from my colleagues.
Yeah, I can see clearly that. Thank you, Magdalena. Well, the project is also about breaking barriers. So the ones you mentioned could be some of those. So we have to work together in try to break them and cooperate to achieve the goals that we all have in mind. So yeah, if we can discuss at any point about those issues and see how they can be solved, for sure.
I would love that. Yes, I'll let my colleagues know. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so I think it might be time for Brussels for ULB.
Yeah.
To participate, Etienne. Hello.
Yes.
Bonjour. Go ahead, please.
Okay, I'll try to be quick. So here's the a quick excerpt of the action we are deploying at Brussels for the transnational open lab action. To replace the activities we are holding in here in Brussels, I just wanted to show once again the three axes we've defined to regroup the different activities. Some of us are doing a diagnostic of the situation. Some others are working on the awareness about the migration topics, and some of others, us in Brussels, are mainly focusing on the action side. So basically document and disseminate a collective instrument to engage students into helping migrants. So which instrument would we like to document? It is an association that is called Law Students with Refugees. It is a legal clinic in the territory of Brussels. It's been created by students engaged in the Master in Law. The objective is to inform the asylum seekers about the administrative and legal path that they will have to follow. There are several civis values that are exhibited by this project. First is that it has a territorial impact because the students discuss and accompany the asylum seekers that are located that have just arrived or that live in Brussels. There's definitely a strong component of civic engagement and service learning when the students participate to this activity. And then there is an important component of inter and even transdisciplinarity, since there are not only lawyers that are involved into this process, but also psychologists and sometimes also linguists, for instance. And we thought that there was in this legal clinic a very interesting perspective for civis, and that we could share the good practices in terms of response to migrational issues for the territory. So why did we choose to dedicate our transnational activities with law students? First is to recognize their involvement, their skills, and even their knowledges. It's a way to give some extracurricular acknowledgement. Secondly, we think that it could help them to strengthen and also enhance their action, documenting how you work or your association group has been constituted. Allows sometimes to find new financial support. And finally, that would be the best way to disseminate their model through the Civis Alliance, because we can think about some European legal clinic, a network of legal clinic on the different territories of the Civis Alliance that could share cases, bring out transversal and systemic issues, and potentially raise necessities for research and policymaking action on a much larger scale. Finally, how are we going to document the activity of law students with refugees? First, we will produce a video that will be available something around beginning or mid-July. And this video will be produced by First Move Production, a small society, production society that is located in Brussels, and that really is really great at producing lively and very authentic narrations. I would like to stress out the human foundation, the human experience from the different actors involved into this situation, being the student, but also the migrants. Then we will have we'll write a comprehensive documentation. We think that it's possible to have the first draft by the beginning of July. So that would mean it could be available for our next meeting in Glasgow. And we plan to have the final version by mid-September. The data for this documentation will be gathered by 4 students, all members involved in law student. And among the different stuff they will gather will be the mission, describe the mission, the institutional framework, the background, the working methodologies with lawyers, refugees, the interdisciplinarity, or this practice is recognized, valorized in the curriculum, the achievement, case studies, and so many others things that may be of interest. And last but not least, we are thinking about gathering a round table, maybe by mid-June, but we will have to see how far the students can be involved into that. Because we would like to co-organize that with some of the law students members, because they are used to organize debates, exhibitions, all around the topic of migration. And we think that it's still one way to recognize their abilities and also to help them reinforce their network, local networks, and they will be definitely very good at selecting the most prominent and necessary topics to be discussed. That's it.
Well, I wanted to personally thank you, actually, Etienne, because I think this project and your role in it has been critical for this to happen. Because not only because of the workshop you organized in Brussels, was a lot of fun, but also very effective in identifying some of the issues we had ahead to produce the project as an output. And I remember myself drafting messages on the floor at your place, and it was incredible. But also for the thorough revision you did of the proposal and the critical points you addressed to all of us. So thank you very much for doing that.
You're welcome. Really.
Yeah, I hope that the results of the project could be as promising as all will want.
Yes.
So next in line, I think is Stockholm. Ivar.
Yes,
Want to
hello.
introduce it? Thank you.
I will share here. I think that's it. Huh? Then I will do screen. You see now? Perfect. Yes, I'm gonna go through our process in the transnational initiative, and I've been doing this together with Anna and Karin in the task force for the civic engagement at SU, and also with my colleague Sarah here at Open Lab. And we have been focusing on two hindrance and gaps for refugees who wants to mainly focus on those who needs to complete their higher education to be accessible to the labor market in certain professions. So, and that came about because at SU they have a quite successful program for teachers that they have used for this purpose to give access so that the immigrants, refugees who has a teacher background and has a higher education can get access as soon as possible to work as teachers in Sweden. And we in Sweden, I think it's also good to know that we have also, of course, looked into certain professions there where there is a lack of that there is a need from the market of employing. So teachers is one group here in Sweden that there is a strong need for teachers. So immigrants and refugees in that sense has been a kind of important. It's very important to address this. And that also concerns in the healthcare sectors for nurses and such and doctors and so forth. So there are these type of programs in the universities in Sweden which addresses just this issue, and especially for those who that needs to have a certain, how do you say, certificate to get be able to work in the profession here in Sweden. So we started there, and then we created this workshop. It was 10th of May, just a couple of days ago, where we invited those groups or stakeholders that are, of course, important to see what is needed to create more, to make this more working, because there are, of course, a lot of problems or challenges with this type of process inside the higher educations and so forth. So we reached out, and then we had a workshop where we had around 25 participants, and they were the researchers and teachers from Stockholm University, and especially also, of course, from this program for teacher program. We had also people represented from the city of Stockholm that works with education, that are kind of the employees in a way, because the commune or the cities in Sweden, they are the responsible for the education on the lower grades. And we had also, of course, representative from civic organizations, though we had some difficulties to attract them because they are so occupied with the situation from Ukraine. So, but we had initiatives from civic organizations that works in this area. And then we had also those working at the Higher Education Council, who are responsible for all this legitimate legal process, how this works. And also from the National Employment Office, which is responsible for helping people to get employed. And then, of course, we had also people from the student union and also some migrant students. So this is a little the background, what we have been. So we did this the 10th of May. And it was very kind of success. They were very kind of, they were not used to meet across these areas. That was for many of them, that was the first time that they met to discuss this topic. And so that was really interesting. And we here then going to show from the different kind of actors' perspective what they see as the challenges, but also looking into what can be seen as kind of a best practice, good practice that we can share how this is working. So this is the little bit the format that we have been using when we are now gathering the result. So let's go see here. So if we start with the employers, those who employ the refugees and immigrants, we see, of course, there are challenges for them. And one big challenge that we see, of course, is these organizations, they lack of time to work with this type of processes. The organizations in themselves are so kind of efficient, organized, or how do you say? So they don't have staff in their organizations to specific target to work with this type of process, to hire immigrants and refugees. So that was one obstacle that we saw, and that's of course connected to the money, that the organizations has not put money into this issue to support this. And prejudice is also one thing, and we saw that it was had to do kind of lack of trust in a way, some parts, and so forth. But there are some good practices that we found out in the workshop. And that is, for example, in the city of Stockholm, they have now created what they call the Integration Pact, which is an initiative where they have gathered 350 companies collaborating for integration. So that's a really new initiative that started, and it started as a result of the Ukraine's situation. And then, of course, there's also about language, because in order to work as a teacher or as a nurse or whatever in Sweden, you need to speak Swedish. So language is of course, is one thing. And then there is an initiative how you can use what they call support employees to offer language developing jobs. And there was another example that someone brought up, and that was one of the largest bank in Sweden. They created a project where they had local events around Sweden where they let refugees and immigrants come to local events to meet the staff and to do some little practice to lower to create more trust. And the result of that project, that 70% of those who got involved in this project, refugees and immigrants, they got a job. So that is quite a very successful example that has been done. Nu ska vi se. I don't understand. Nej. Now. From the academy point of view, there is, of course, challenges. And one, of course, is the validation documents, to look into what is the validation for those who comes, what type of degree they have, are they transferable to what the Swedish system acquires. And of course, it's also about process to work with this. And at the same time here, time and money has been one of the challenges to work with this, because it takes more time. And then there are some best practice here. And I mentioned you before earlier, this ULV, this is a foreign teacher program at Stockholm University, who has been running for quite a few years now. And it's very successful and has been able to take on immigrants and foreigners and refugees on their program, and support, and then supplying for the teachers to get jobs. And then there is another example that's called the Shortcut, and that is an initiative that is done by it's a state initiative and by the universities, and it's a way to help academics to reach a job. And the purpose of this program is to identify and assess the academic skills, and you also will get a qualified internship at the company or the organization within your field. And then, of course, improve your Swedish language through specialized Swedish courses. And then also to provide with professional coaching and shorter job training programs. So that's another example. And yeah, I can see. And then we have the group, what we call support actors, which are those civic organizations, but also those who works in the city or in other public organizations that are supporting, have the role of supporting refugees and immigrants. And here is a kind of a little unclear in the process who is responsible for what. And that I think for this group, that was really important to participate in this workshop. And then also about communication, lack of communication of what's available and what they can get. So there's kind of unawareness of available support. And of course, it's also resource questions in their organizations. And here are some best practice that we found out in the workshops. City of Stockholm, they have what they call the Welcome House. And then there is also from newly arrived to newly employed. It's also an initiative between teachers and so forth. So this is yeah. So this workshop, we had the 10th, and we are now addressing the next step. So we are finalizing the documentation here as part of this, you can see here now. And we are going to do also continue with interviews with immigrants, refugees in higher education that are involved in this. And then we have now said that the initiative should be, as we want to also to deploy it into these organizations, so it's not only owned by us at Open Lab. So we have asked now to one of the other organizations that will participate in the workshop to take lead to arrange next step in the autumn. So that is where we are now.
Well, thank you, Ivar. I think it's a very interesting approach, very connected with the territorial needs and also the socioeconomical scenario that you have there, and it's very, very interesting how you are addressing this. So thank you for your presentation. I think we can move to Glasgow. We are running out of time again, so please, if you can be as fast as possible, we would very much appreciate it. So Glasgow has an important role in the project because they will host the final workshop. So I don't know if you want to say a few words on that.
Hello? Hi. Hi,
Yeah.
everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, so I will keep it very, very short and sweet. So in terms of University of Glasgow's transnational project, we're really, really keen to work with GramNet, which is the Glasgow Refugee Asylum and Migration Network, which is based at the University of Glasgow. So we had plans as part of our particular project to take this forward with them, but unfortunately that plan has had to be postponed. But we are still keen to engage with them. We're still in contact with them, and there's opportunities coming up for us to take these conversations forwards. That could be through the upcoming UK Refugee Week, which is a UK-wide event which looks to work with refugees across the nation to celebrate their contributions and their creativity and their resilience. So there's definitely some opportunities to us to engage with GramNet as part of that week at the end of June. They also have an upcoming event in autumn to help raise awareness for the network and showcase what they're doing. So we're hoping to engage with them with that as well. And there's also definitely opportunities with UNESCO refugee integration through languages and arts, which is based in the School of Education at the University of Glasgow, and it's in collaboration with it works with the GramNet network as well. So we're hoping that there's lots of opportunities for us to take forward opportunities with the transnational project, but we will keep you updated on what that looks like as we go forward. And yes, we are also hosting the next Open Labs meeting in Glasgow in July. So we really look forward to having another discussion on this and talking about what everybody's been doing on the exciting things that people have been taking forward in more detail. So yeah, so very short and sweet on my part, unless anybody has any questions. No? Okay. Well, thank you very much.
During the lunch. Yeah, yes, sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So thank you. So we can move on, and next in line is Tübingen. So
What? It is on this box. Mm-hmm. Open session. Otherwise, yeah, if you have it in the USB. I will be short. I'll shut it down. Yes. Is it on? Yeah. Mm. Tries to presentation mode. Yes, hello. I also will try to shorten it down and to leave a lot of what I wanted to tell you for the upcoming discussions during lunch. The Tübingen Open Lab, I will give you a short background at the first point and then go to the transnational projects. The background. The transnational project have been established in close connection to internal and external stakeholders. So we discussed with these internal and external stakeholders, especially because of the influence the war in the Ukraine currently has to the whole situation, what demands there are, or where we can really like go into or have a meaningful contribution by the transnational project. And well, we developed that there are three main points we could address. There's a demand for greater public dissemination of the activities established by the university with regard to refugees, and there is a demand for an explanation of the German higher education landscape because it's quite diverse, and we need a public space for networking and discussion on migration-related topics. So we established three different transnational projects, two video projects. The first project is documenting and disseminating the supporting activities of the universities for refugees. The second one is an explanation of the higher education landscape within the region. And the third one is to have a public event to allow, to have a podium open discussion on migration-related topics and to allow networking afterwards. Going into the project. The first one is the video documentation of the supporting activities. Well, as I said, the war in Ukraine has a huge impact on that. So we want to inform stakeholders about what we are doing on short and on long-term activities. And we also want to foster interaction by providing information that people like have a connection point where they can join forces with us to work on specific topics. The approach will be, as I said, a video. At first, we will, like in the first part, we will position the university as a responsive actor within society, that people really know that we are joining forces on the migration topic. Then we will have an overview of the short-term activities or measures taken by the university. We will use the example of the current crisis for that. And a last point, we will inform about long-term activities or measures. For example, also, we will showcase our law clinic over there. The video is in the pre-production phase, so we are in inter-university alignment at present. We are producing a first script and we are communicating the project to different stakeholders to secure their support. The second video project explains the higher education landscape. Well, a quite considerably high proportion or a high proportion of refugees do have the qualification to start studying or end in the age of starting a course of studies or continuing a course of studies. But the problem is that it's not a problem, but the case is that the higher education system landscape in Germany is extremely diverse, so it's hard to navigate through this system for refugees. If we just look at the current numbers, we have 33 incoming researchers to Tübingen. We had 70 applications, but there were a lot of more people who needed consulting to find the perfect institution to apply. So we had just 70 applications, but the consulting numbers are quite higher than this. So the aim is to give students a tool that they can navigate through the educational landscape and to find a suitable university and suitable courses of studies, and by this to faster and better connect to the regional academic communities. The approach is that we produced 3 videos. The first one is dealing with the higher education landscapes, explaining it. The second one explains how to apply at these universities. And the third one deals with everyday questions of student life in Germany. The videos are produced. They are produced in Ukrainian language to really address the current situation, but we will also produce an English version for the long one. The last point is the public event to publicly discuss migration-related topics. We have a lot of actors within the region who work on migration-related things, topics, who offer activities. So we want to bring them together in a public discussion and provide space for networking. The status is planning phase. We have a highly fluid situation in the Ukraine. So we will address the current situation in July and really tailor the event to the situation. The focus, therefore, is currently discussed. And that's everything from my side. If you have any question, please let me know.
Well, thank you very much, Jan. I think it's important as we are all preparing some dissemination materials like videos and so on, to include them, at least the link in the CVs box at some point. So we'll make a folder available for that. So all the material is inside the box and accessible to the rest of partners. I think is going to be important also for sharing the initiatives in other territories in our own institutions. So it's good. Thank you very much. So I think we are the last ones. I'll try to be as brief as possible. So let me share the UAM experience. Okay. Here we go. So what we did inside the initiative was to organize with the Vice Rectorate for Social Commitment and Sustainability a workshop, and also under the rule of Silvia Arias, who is the leader of the Civic Engagement Task Force, and has as one of her duties to develop the strategy of the university in addressing the objectives of the Agenda 2030. And this workshop was part of this let's say strategy of the university. It took place in March 29-30, and it included different discussions on present subjects, 4 roundtables dedicated to subjects like present and future challenges for the reception and integration of refugees in Spain. Another interesting roundtable on the role of the university in the migration processes. I'll comment something about this in the next slide. the analysis of the refugee migration trajectories, or one important roundtable that took place around the situation in Ukraine and the keys for understanding the migration flows that are emerging from the war. There was participation from different sectors of the university community, students and professors with migrant background, and also stakeholders, mainly NGOs, and in particular the UN Refugee Agency, which participate very actively in the discussions. And it's an agency that the university has been working with for a long time, especially in relationship with the camps, refugee camps in Algeria. And there are a lot of connections with them and with the initiatives that they are following there, they are carrying out there. So it was a very intense workshop with many things happening in parallel, and we took the advantage, or we profit from that workshop to prepare a video on these topics, a 10-minute video that will be also available soon through the CVS box. We have finalized the edition very recently, so it will be shared with all of you, so you can be more aware of what happened during those days. The other part of our activity in the project is related to the promotion of internships in relation with the activities in countries of migration origin. In particular, there is this program that we are launching to select university students and to give them the opportunity to learn through on-site internships about the problematics, the issues of the countries of origin in two specific countries. One is Benin in Africa, and the other one is Colombia in South America, and learn through the entities there and the NGOs what are the main aspects that require attention and require support from in this case, from the institution. So they will have the chance to work there and to later report on the learnings that we had through this work. So the idea is to have these internships between July and September. So now we are in the selection process, actually, of the students. Silvia Arias is in charge of both parts, really, of the activity of the university in the transnational project, and could give you more details at any time during during the next days on what's going on in relationship to both. This specific program, I think, is a good opportunity to be translated also, or at least the format, to create the possibility for internships in relationship with the migration across our different countries. And there has been some discussions about this with Tübingen, I think, already. And I think it's good to exploit this form of cooperative action in concerning migration and the issues that every territory may find in relation to that. So is all I wanted to say. Again, I'm not following this in detail because it's Silvia from Civic Engagement Task Force and Unit who is mainly deploying these activities, but I'm sure that there will be great for the project and for the university at the same time. So now I think we should review and welcome actually Silvia, who is online following the agenda, and thank all of you, by the way, for your beautiful initiatives in the project, in the transnational project. And I think now it's time, Silvia, to comment something about your work in the Civic Engagement Task Force and especially your work to identify the best practices in relationship with the CIVIS label. Okay.
Hello,
So
good
welcome.
morning.
Hello.
Yeah, hello, good morning. Thank you, Jose Luis. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure for me to be here today. I try to be very short because I know it's a very long session. You have been there since a long time, for a long time, so I try to be very short, but I want to thank you to give us the opportunity to share with you all the work our task force has done during the last year. As you probably know, this task force, I'll try to share my screen so it's easier. This one. Okay, can you see it? Can
yes.
you? Okay.
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So
it's not in presentation mode though.
Sorry? Okay. Okay, wait a moment, please. Yeah. Okay. Now it's better.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah. Well.
Okay. So, well, as me as coordinator of this civic engagement task force, I try to give you some ideas about what we have been doing during the last year. This, as you probably know, this task force, Civic Engagement Task Force, was created to support Work Package 3 in a more theoretical way with two clear objectives. With two clear objectives. The first one was to identify the civic and university civic engagement activities that our universities are carrying out, and also to reach a definition of university civic engagement. Well, our methodology to answer these two goals or these two questions or these two objectives was to prepare a handbook, a publication that will be ready and will be available probably in, I don't know, 1.5 months, I guess. So you could see in detail what we are working on, but I would like just to give some details. The title of the handbook is this one, Building Our Civic Identity Towards a Socially Responsible University, Working Together to Achieve a Positive and Transformative Impact on Society. And the handbook is divided in 4 chapters. The first one is an introduction and background. We explain here everything about university civic engagement, because there are, I think, most of the universities all around the world. Well, probably not all of them, but there are quite a few universities that are doing this kind of job. Some of them, they call it the third mission of the university, or this university social responsibility, whatever. But we explain in this chapter what they are doing around the world, what other universities are doing around the world in the framework of civic engagement. The second chapter is about the definition of civic engagement, university civic engagement. The third chapter is about practices, the best and the most relevant practices we identified inside our universities, the universities from the Civics Alliance. And the last chapter are recommendations and guidelines for the future. There is also an annex, a very complex annex about describing in detail everything about the most relevant practices. Well, I don't want to take too long with this, but I only want to highlight 2 points. The first one is the university civic engagement definition. This was a very complex task because it's a very complex definition, but we decided to open this definition as much as possible. And there are 3 aspects just to share with you. What's university civic engagement activities are those that bring more impactful academic contribution to real social needs. Also, they contribute to find solutions to tackle, to face, to address economic, social, and environmental problems in society. And it also refers to policies that bring positive changes in the society, okay, through teaching, researching, and social services and university management. The second point I would like to highlight, of course, are the civic engagement activities. It was a very complex and difficult task to take because the principal problem was that not these civic engagement activities are not collected in a single unit or office, but they are scattered throughout the university. So it was very difficult to reach, and we had to talk to many departments, professors, unit office, also to the presidents and vice presidents in the universities. So it took a long time to gather all this information, but we got it, and it took a long time, but we got it, and we divided and we organized this information in 4 clusters, in 4 categories, as you can see here: governance related to the policies, civic engagement policies, for instance, anti-discrimination or anti-racism policies, or gender policies, or policies related to support refugee students or students with disabilities. The second cluster is research, kind of research that is applied research, that is looking for to find solutions to social needs. The third category is external leadership. In this category, we put all the activities we are doing with external partners, with another partners, especially NGOs, but also other universities from the South or other entities, and enterprise, whatever. And the last one is the education, of course, and we mean all kind of training or activities or courses that are trying to raise awareness about civic engagement values, or about civic engagement topics. So you can see in detail in 1 month, more or less, all this information. Anyway, if you have any question, please don't hesitate to contact with me or with us, with the members of the task force, but I don't want to, I want to be short. So the last thing I want to share with you is this civics label. And Edward, as you probably know that yesterday, well, you probably know that Work Package 8 was working very hard to select initiatives, the best initiatives inside our universities in order to give them this civis label. Okay, it was a very hard job for them for Work Package 8, and finally we decided to collaborate with them. So we have been collaborating Work Package 8 and Work Package 3, our task force, during the last 2 months or 3 months, to try to help them to identify the best initiatives. Yesterday, the evaluation panel selected the activities. There was a civis, there was a prize for every category: education, research, governance, and external leadership. And here you have the results and the winners for this civis label. One is from the University of Athens, related to refugee families. In the category of research is for the winner is the University of Brussels, related also to migration. The winner for the category of governance is for the University of Stockholm, something related to climate change. And the last one is for University of Madrid, related to international volunteer program. Now all the winners are commitment to develop these initiatives all together in a joint programs. So we will see the results in the next months. Well, that's this is everything from my side. So please, if you have any questions or whatever, you can contact with us as you want. Okay, thank you very much for listening to.
Thank you, Sylvia, and well, congratulations to the ones selected and the initiatives selected through the program. I think is a very good incentive for many of them to continue with their activities. So it's nice. So I guess that it's time to close the session now. I don't know if there are remarks from the audience or ideas that you want to share, or it is better to go for lunch. I think that otherwise we can compromise the timetable for the visit. Marlene seems that she wants.
Yes, I don't see anyone ready to make any comment. I think it was a long and very, very interesting, very rich session. This one today, as yesterday's as well. And we all learned much more about our projects through these more detailed presentations, which are very important. Just to remind all of us to upload them in the civis box, because it's important to have them there as a resource. And perhaps may I suggest between now and the Glasgow meeting, we may need another online meeting at some point to coordinate, because there are issues we have not discussed right now, like the template for the evaluation of the projects, the reporting. So things are pending, and it would be good if we have this opportunity to work a bit more on them.
Exactly. Yeah, we will. We will.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah, it is a pity we didn't have more time to discuss those, but yeah, it was.
So I think everybody is hungry right now and ready for a break. Thank you very much, Jose, for
Thank you for organizing this.
moderating.
Yeah, thank you for organizing all. Bye. Enjoy
Bye-bye.
the visit.
Bye-bye.
Enjoy the visit.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Silvia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jose Luis.